This is the North End. This is the North End.
Hello, North Enders. It's Brian here, Spurs supporter, obviously. A massive fan of Harry Kane. It's come to this. I think a lot of us have been in a bit of denial. I'm going to try to make this as honest as possible without like coming from a script at all. Just a response to the situation with Kane moving on and how I feel about it. It's pretty difficult, obviously. We all know the sort of saga that's gone on. The German Bayern media and their agenda to push this through, the lack of communication from our club, Tottenham Hotspur, and Daniel Levy in particular, in telling us what's going on, or Harry Kane himself even. Although there's been a seeming communication, I think the lack of good media and people understanding what's really going on, and then also the ability to think critically about what's happening and not let your emotions take over. I'm somebody who tries to do that as often as possible, but this is a difficult one with Harry Kane because Harry Kane is Harry Kane. You know, he's been an incredible player for this club. You know, came through the academy. It's the story and the things he's been able to do for this club at the highest level and dragging us through and scoring as many goals as he has and just being as important as he has to this club. To lose him the way we have is challenging. I love and want him to succeed. I want to see his ambition come to fruition. I just don't know that this is the right reason for it, or not the right reason, but the right place to go. It seems like an odd decision considering the records that are available to him, and that at the end of this season, if he, you know, continued to do what he's been doing in the past 3 or 4 seasons for one more season to see it out, and then he could go and do what he wants next season. It's a bit strange for me. I don't quite get that. I'm guessing he has his reasons. Hopefully it's not because his brother Charlie wants to you know, make money off of the transfer. It's probably a bit conspiratorial on my part to think that, but it's baffling a little bit. I don't quite get it. I'm not sure why Kane makes this decision, other than, and I think this is fair, if this is his reasoning, and likely it is, he hasn't been given what he has asked for multiple times. You know, we brought in winning managers, you know, Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, and seemingly he seemed happy in that scenario, and that manager was going to help him achieve winning trophies at Spurs, which was the point, right? He wants to win trophies at Spurs, so wasn't really necessarily going to be able to do that with those managers because the quality of football, the style of football that we were playing wasn't up to snuff, and he just came to the end of his rope and made a decision, arguably long before this saga started. And in doing so, ensured that he was going to get a move to a club that potentially could win a Champions League, especially with him in it. Let's be honest. And a club that's going to win the league no matter what, and probably win the German Cup or whatever it's called, the equivalent to the League Cup that we have here, or that it is in England. I'm baffled by the seeming lack of ambition of that. And I don't know how you guys feel, but get in the comments and let us know. It seems like to me like a little bit of lack of ambition, because you're guaranteed trophies going to Bayern. You know, he could have stayed at Spurs for one more season, even if he signed a contract with a buyout clause or something, and still could have gone to any club in Europe at the end of the season. Yet he's going to Bayern in a, you know, I'm not going to be derogatory as much as I could be towards the league that is the German league. There's some quality teams in that, but not many. You know, like the competition is pretty minimal. You know, it's Dortmund or Bayern that are in the top. So it's a bit baffling to me. I don't quite get it, but I also get that from his perspective, he's been giving our club, Tottenham Hotspur, a shit ton of leeway in getting him to winning trophies, and it just hasn't gotten there. He's 30 years old. He's been with the club since he was like 9 or 10, you know, like he's 30 years old just recently. He's given everything. so for me to doubt his reasoning is, I don't know the specifics of it, so I'm gonna call bullshit on my own reasoning in that scenario, that I think he probably, for good reason, is at the end of his rope, like many of us are. I'm not going to turn this into sort of a Levy out scenario, or Levy's at fault, which I do think he is in many aspects of it, but that's not what this is about. This is about Harry Kane leaving, and I do think the way that this situation has been managed from the club and also from Bayern and the whole situation, it's odd. I don't quite get why, if we knew this was going to happen, that we were holding off, that Levy and the club didn't just go to Bayern and say, here's the fee. If you don't pay it, we're done. We're moving on. Because this dragged out. We're 48 hours away from kickoff to the season starting. And we're losing our best player on the planet, and best player in our team, but arguably the best player on the planet, one of them, top 5. And I feel like that's incredibly poor planning from the club, and in the way the media has handled it, the way the club has just been, and also Harry Kane, to be, I want to give him a lot of credit because I think he's handled it reasonably well, but the lack of transparency, or seeming lack of transparency from supporters like myself, who've been just dying to know what's going on. Like, if you're leaving, go. Let's prepare. Like, I'd rather know I would have known like 2-3 weeks ago if I knew Richarlison was going to be starting against Brentford on Sunday, and we knew who, Madison was playing and Basuma was playing, and that's the focus. But instead, a couple of days beforehand, this is where we are. We're having this conversation, and instead of enjoying the news, sort of, all right, here's where we're at with Ange football, and what this team is going to potentially be this season. We spent most of the last few days like suffering to trying to find out what was arguably inevitable, which we've seen from this club, from Bale, to Modric, to basically every other big player we've had at this club, who's gone on, it's close to deadline day for a lot of money to another big club. The good thing about this one, arguably, is that it's Bayern Munich, so we're not competing with them in any way. We're not in the Champions League, and we're not going to play against them unless he's there 3 years later and we end up in the Champions League somehow. So that's good. I mean, that's the one thing about this scenario, is that he is not competition, and I think that's arguably probably the reason he took it, and says something about him personally. I love Harry Kane. I love him to death, and I thank him for his service. I think everything he's done for Spurs is, hard to quantify. Everything he's done for football in England, again, hard to quantify. He is at the cusp of being the most or the highest goal scoring striker of all time. Yet he's sort of making a decision to move on to another league where that is irrelevant for other reasons. He has a lot ahead of him too. That, strikers these days can play till, we look at Lewandowski, I think he's 38. So players can play for a lot longer. So maybe he's going to go there for a couple of years, win some trophies, come back, maybe comes back to Spurs and win. Yeah, wishful thinking. Anyway, I don't want to go on for too much longer, but I just want to say that Harry Kane, thank you for everything you've done. Appreciate you. Appreciate what you have done for the club. And as difficult as this is, we appreciate you, and thank you. Hopefully you'll make it back at some point. You're only just turned 30. You'll probably play another 6 or 7 seasons. Maybe you come back after winning a couple pieces of hardware, and you break the record with Tottenham. Well, we win trophies because we've got a wonderful manager right now who I think will manage the situation probably better than most would. So, yeah, time to move on. The logo on the front of the shirt, the badge on the front of the shirt, is more important than the name on the back. But everything you've done for this club, we appreciate you, Harry. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you later. Ciao.
This is the North End.